Hey, what's up guys? Gons here for the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. I just got a brand new microphone and I'm really stoked about it. I've been using the same MK219 Octava condenser microphone for years, and I finally upgraded to a Rode NT1, so I'm really excited. Hopefully things are a little bit clearer and just better sounding. But putting that aside, I wanted to talk about the future of social media and why it's so creepy. Now, we know Mark Zuckerberg wants everybody on the Oculus Rift within a few years, and interacting on social media will mean something different when everybody is on their virtual reality goggles. And there have been plenty of animes and other TV shows and movies that have portrayed some of the interactions or the way things might be in the very near future with these technologies becoming more widely available. But I say that the future of social media is creepy because it's not going to be just human-to-human interaction. The big thing we are forgetting is the human-to-machine or artificial intelligence interaction. Now, we're already having it at a certain level, but the interaction with AI right now, these AI systems aren't sentient. At least not to the level of human consciousness. Now, they're able to do calculations very quickly, and obviously there are certain levels of what appears to be some sort of artificial intelligence proper, but no machine has woken up thinking that he or she is alive and self-aware and all this stuff, at least as far as we know. And I think in terms of Revelation 13 and the image of the beast, this has everything to do with that fulfillment where sentient machine will give the appearance of life, breath, speaking, and having the authority to kill unless you take the mark and worship the beast. So I know if you haven't looked into this material, it sounds a little bit crazy, but the reality is scientists and technologists are both pushing in that direction regardless. Not so much the fulfillment of Bible prophecy in their minds, but in actuality, that's what's going on. But along the way, social media is going to change continuously and evolve, and it's going to affect human behavior in very bizarre ways as we continue to go down this social media interconnectivity virtual reality road. Now, there's something called slow television, and it became popular when a Norwegian broadcasting corporation broadcasted a 7-hour train journey in 2009, and what ended up happening was over 1 million Norwegians, which is about 1/5 of the population, checked in on the feed, and it was this big phenomenon. And slow TV became this thing that people do where you basically just set up a camera at a live event, and that camera just rolls live from that spot for several hours. And you get to sort of peer into other parts of the world and be there, kind of, if you want to think of it that way. It's like a little window into other parts of the world, and it plays on this strange human desire for voyeurism, but it also plays right into this idea of a global surveillance state where the elite, by giving us this technology, have basically allowed us to build our own virtual prison system where we're effectively spying on each other. And not that it's all negative and it's all bad, but I think this sort of thing is going to start becoming more and more popular, and it's going to become more and more invasive in our infrastructure, in our cities and everything else. Now, there was a story that was published on fusion.net, and it was titled, "A Live Stream of a Small Town in Wyoming is Bringing the Internet Together." The town of Jackson, Wyoming has a population of 9,577 according to the 2010 census, but that hasn't stopped it from becoming the focus of an online obsession. For the past day or so, thousands of people all over the world have been eagerly watching Jackson's town square, gleefully scrutinizing each person and vehicle that makes their way past a stationary webcam. And here you can see the webcam, and it's just on live all day. And people started talking about the red truck because I guess a lot of people ride red trucks there. And you know, people in the town found out about it, they got involved, they started holding up signs. You know, it's kind of cool. And, you know, it's bringing people together, it's social media at its finest, you know? But at the same time, there's this undertone of creepiness to it. Again, this is basically a webcam that's just shooting live into this intersection, this pretty busy intersection, and there's nothing special about what's going on there, yet people are intrigued. They want to watch, they want to see random locations other than where they are now. And again, it plays on this strange voyeurism that's going to get worse and worse and more invasive as more cameras get set up and more people get interconnected into the web. Now, obviously, social media has completely overhauled the entertainment business. There's nothing that is not online anymore, and the internet has become the actual stomping grounds for entertainment news, entertainers themselves speaking out and having a platform, and actually everybody in the world having some sort of platform. But it's clear to me that there's no sense of ethic or actual moral values when it comes to social media. It becomes shameless self-promotion. And here's an example. This is on E! News. Now, I don't know if I've ever quoted an article from E! News, but here it is. Followers are the new currency. How social media has changed the celeb glam squad game. And this is about, people that do makeup and hair and all this stuff in Hollywood. But effectively what they were saying was that celebrities are choosing to go with people that have bigger social media platforms, but are less experienced in makeup or hair or whatever, just to get the numbers or just to get the attention. So there's this injustice that's occurred in the industry where the people that have true experience and have a huge body of work, but may not have the social media following of somebody that's younger or, just did the social media thing better, that person with the better experience is going to be left behind. And what's even worse is that they were saying in the article that certain people would use Photoshop and actually change the way people looked to promote their line of beauty making or whatever. So it's dishonest to the core, to where even people within the industry traditionally are complaining about it because they're the ones that actually respect the craft, while people that are less talented have less of a body of work but have a huge social media following. They get all the business and they make exponentially more money. And this sort of attitude and mentality of getting ahead, becoming the most important thing, setting aside any kind of moral value or ethics or honor, none of it. Just put it all aside as long as I can get ahead. That narcissism is rampant, and social media has been the vehicle by which this sort of attitude has bred. But there's kind of a catch-22 slippery slope thing happening with the internet and social media in general. Now, ABC News just reported Israel, rise of social media linked to rising anti-Semitism. And in the article here, Israel's UN ambassador demanded Wednesday that media companies, quote, stop providing a platform for hate sites, end quote, saying there is a clear link between the rise of social media and the rise of anti-Semitism. And he spouts off some numbers here and says how vitriol and terrible people are against the Jews and they want to kill the Jews, and, it's all victimization here. And the fact is, yeah, people are nasty on the internet, but it's not just against Jews, it's practically against everybody. There is a troll for every kind of group of people. It's not just the Jews. But I understand his frustration. Now, he is calling for some sort of action by the authorities to, quote, stop providing a platform for hate sites and to stop easy access through content searches and start developing mechanisms to detect and report on racist and anti-Semitic search results, end quote. And that gets into a pretty heavy area where internet censorship becomes a problem. It already has been a problem in other nations. The United States is right there. We're starting to see some sort of crackdown on the internet. It's no longer the wild, wild west as it was in the last 10, 15 years. But the same thing we saw happen in the political spectrum of fabricated fear to take away freedoms, the exact same thing, the exact same tactics are happening in social media and the internet, and slowly again taking away our freedoms on the internet in order to crack down and control. If you really think about what social media is, it's basically your journal for the entire world to see. Science Daily reported, posting personal experiences on social media may help you remember them in the future. Well, no duh. If you have pictures from events or you write about an event or something that happened to you, of course you can go back and recall it better because you have it journaled just in public, right? People used to write in journals for that very reason, to share their deepest inner thoughts and events throughout their lives, but they just didn't share it with the entire world. But that's what this has become, and that's been the vehicle for this virtual panopticon. And it's sad to see that this study by Cornell University found that posting on social media makes it easier for people to remember and recall these events, especially because I think our memories are being heavily suppressed in terms of long-term memories because we're constantly bombarded by the next thing. And our attention spans as a humanity has definitely decreased since the internet started infecting everybody. But the reason why this video is called Future of Social Media is Creepy is because of this next story that was published on Seeker.com titled, What's It Like to Date a Video Game Character? Check this out.
未開封開けられない大事すぎて開けられないなあこれ2015年だから
Ayaka is in love with Kane, a character in 100 Day Princess, a simulated dating app targeted at women in their 20s and 30s.
どんな気持ちになるときめくもう本当にもう彼に恋をしてるのと本当一緒もう一人でこうってなる
The game is about a girl who becomes a princess while wearing a glass slipper for 100 days. The user plays the role of princess. The game was created by Cyber, one of many companies producing these types of apps.
The term virtual boyfriend is what's most commonly used in US media outlets, but most of our fans don't use that term. They will refer to the genre they're playing as an otome game, or some of them might call it a romance game or a love sim. Otome game, when literally translated, means a maiden game. It's basically a game for young women.
In an otome game, the usual objective is to fall in love. Users can often have multiple boyfriends at one time and decide on interactions with boyfriends that decide the fate of the game. Otome games have fueled the thriving mobile gaming industry, which accounts for nearly $6 billion of the Japanese gaming market.
Otome games are definitely our biggest strength right now. What sets Otome games apart is definitely the amount of reality that we bring to all of our games. You really do feel like you're falling in love with somebody, and you also feel like this really could happen to me sometime, even if it's outside of this virtual world.
Games contain complex plots written by a team of predominantly female writers, and the storylines get creative. Other companies have released games where users can date samurais, historical figures, or even pigeons, like in one game called Hatofu Boyfriend. Cyber's hit Midnight Cinderella has attracted a loyal following.
We've had about 1.3 million downloads since we released it 2 years ago. This is a fantasy/romance app where you become the princess of a kingdom, and your first job is to find your prince. There are 9 really hot guys that you get to choose from, and over the course of the game you fall in love and find out whether or not your romance is going to last or not.
でやっぱり最初に意識したのがすごく女性が憧れるキラキラした世界っていうのを描きたいっていうところから始まってるので、もう本当に12時にシンデレラの靴を落としていっちゃうみたいなシーンを想起させるシーンとか、あとはドレスとか食べ物とかそういうのも。
Simulation games gained popularity in Japan in the 1980s, but the first one designed specifically for women was released in 1994, named Angelique. It was made for Super Nintendo, and it set the precedent for women's games in this genre to focus on romance.
I think it can be a great stress reliever when you're playing these games. It's really, really nice to have a guy who lives in your cell phone who only comes out when you want him to. He loves you unconditionally. He's just the perfect guy.
ゲームをしてる時だけは自分の恋人みたいな感覚だけど、やっぱりこういう外ちょっとやっぱり現実世界がちょっと交わってきたりとか、それこそプリンセスのイベントとかでも女の子とかあったりすると、やっぱりみんなの会員みたいな多分会員が好きなんだろうけど、多分同じような人がいても多分好きにはならないかなって思う。
And although some may be quick to write off otome games as a quirky Japanese subculture, the genre is becoming immensely popular in the United States as well.
Our American audience has been exposed to Japanese anime and manga from a very, very young age. About 15 to 20 years ago, Sailor Moon and Pokemon really made a big impact on a lot of young people's lives, so they can really relate to the characters in the game and they feel comfortable with the illustration style. I think within the next 5 to 10 years, this is going to be a very, very popular genre that most people know about and will be playing.
With such loyal fan bases comparable with cult TV shows, otome games may just become another feature of a typical modern woman's life.
今のところ これをやめる予定はないです。
I personally feel that this is just an evolution of the romance novel genre. I think as people are shifting away from reading and not buying books, and they're spending a lot more of their leisure time on their phones or on tablets, and that's where they get their, romantic satisfaction from.
Now, there was a film called Her, published in 2013, starring Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson, which was basically a story about a guy who falls in love with an intelligent computer operating system. And it's hard to argue against movies like Her being predictive programming. The idea being dropped into society more and more, and obviously Japan's been inundated with this sort of technology, and we're seeing it now. So again, as we go back to this beginning idea where Mark Zuckerberg wants all of us on these virtual headsets interacting on social media, we are not going to be merely interacting with other people. We are going to be interacting with artificial intelligence. And perhaps, and this is where my mind starts to get into crazy concepts that are better suited for a sci-fi novel, but what if quote-unquote aliens, and we know they're not really aliens as in biological entities that evolved from other planets or whatever, but what if some sort of disclosure does take place, but the place where humanity is able to best interact with these newfound alien figures is on the internet, in these virtual realities, because language can be fixed and, people can communicate with these beings. It's a weird thing to consider, but I wouldn't be surprised with the way things are headed, especially since with the anonymity that the internet has created, you're never quite sure who's on the other side. So I'm going to keep track of this stuff in social media more and more and share it with you guys, because I think it's important as we continue to try to keep up with the sort of social media stuff going on, but also holding on to the awareness of the dangers that are inherent in this sort of technology that continues to spread all around the world. So I hope you get something out of that. Remember, folks, the truth is found in Jesus Christ and Jesus Christ alone. He is my Savior. He is the Savior for humanity. So never let go of that truth, because no matter what the technology does or what entities decide to show up, Jesus is Lord of all. And we can have confidence in that as we get closer and closer to the end of the age. Have an awesome day, guys. God bless.